Hello and welcome to the 42nd episode of the Real List podcast, a podcast about our real list. I'm your host, Ellis.
And I'm your host, Gloria, and today's selection is from me.
Yes.
This is...
If you couldn't guess.
This is Stephen King's
Shining.
The Shining. This film came out in 1980 based off Stephen King's book, The Shining. Directed by Stanley Kubrick. Screenplay by Stanley Kubrick and Diane Johnson, based on The Shining by Stephen King. This movie has Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers, and Danny Lloyd. This is a film about a family who comes up to Boulder, Colorado, to take care of a...
No, they were in Boulder, Colorado. They moved from there to the hotel.
Oh, okay. So they come from... No, they said they were from Vermont.
Well, originally they were from Vermont, but they were staying in Boulder, and they moved to the hotel.
Well, they're in Colorado. That's all that matters. They go up to the Overlook Hotel, and they're there for 5 months, from the 1st of November to the 1st of May.
They're supposed to be, anyway.
They're supposed to be, anyways. And they're there not even, a month?
They're there a month and change. The first time skip is a month, and then the time skips get smaller from there.
Yeah, it goes from a month.
It goes
from
days.
A month to Tuesday?
Yeah, it goes from a month to days of the week, and then the final day is hours of the day.
Yeah.
Which was sort of interesting. Like, from the point of view of someone who listens to, engineering disaster podcasts, whenever someone says a time and a date, whenever they narrow it down to a specific point, stuff's about to go bad. So, when it starts doing days of the week, it goes 1 month, and it's okay, we're gonna get, pictures of them throughout the month, or throughout the months. No, it's 1 month in, everything starts to fall apart. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to days of the week and then the final day or two. Which I did want to say, because I feel like I'm the newcomer to this movie. I should probably
I actually just remembered
saying,
I've seen this movie 3 times.
Yeah. This is my first time seeing The Shining. And the thing is...
It's a 2-hour movie.
It's a long movie. And I'm not sure it's better for it, but I don't want to dunk on this critically acclaimed, world-famous film so much, because I feel like a lot of what could have been very suspenseful periods were taken out by either my own persona of just being so when are they going to get to the murder? Which is not really even what I'm here for. I asked for a psychological thriller and I got one, but it's
You're welcome.
When am I going to get to the thrilling part? No, I was I know how this goes for the most part, because I'm on the internet, so I see the memes and I see the synopses and people talking about it. I've never tracked down a breakdown of The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Now I probably will, but I was the heavy foreshadowing in the beginning of exactly what is going to happen to them.
Oh yeah, because he tells them about the old caretaker and is oh, just so you know, we had a caretaker who went crazy and he killed his wife and 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm. And if you go into this movie blind, I feel like you hear that and go, oh boy, this sounds like something paranormal might happen. And I'm going, oh, so they just outlined the plot? They give that synopsis at the beginning, and I'm just oh cool, yeah, right, that's the foreshadowing of the entire story. Thank you for sorting that out, Mr. Stephen King. So
but it's not even like that though. It's completely different. I mean, it could have gone the way that the movie foreshadowed, but it didn't.
Right, and that's a good point, but you're expecting it to get to that decision point.
Mm-hmm.
You're he's gonna chase his family down with an axe and maybe kill them. And at the end of the movie,
he's gonna go crazy.
Towards the end of the movie, I'm watching it going, I'm not sure if he's gonna kill them or not.
Oh, what? Like the contemplation of him, like him having the dream, and then what? Like you were like, what made you think that?
I really, it was more of a question of like, is this movie going to kill off these two people?
Mm.
It wasn't so much of a like, is he the character capable? It's, are these two going to escape? Because definitely he was going to murder them.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
if he could have, but he didn't. And that was the question. And I feel like that's, a normal question to have in a piece of cinema. If you have cinema or TV where you know your characters are going to be okay, it sort of lowers the stakes. Good writers will put you on that edge all the time. Like, how many times have you thought a member of SG-1 was dead? We're like 20 episodes into
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And you genuinely think, like, oh my god, Daniel's dead, or like, they just killed Jack, or they just killed everyone. Like, a lot of sci-fi and a lot of film...
Stargate got me fucked up sometimes. Like,
a lot of, yeah.
I'll be emotional as hell, but we're not here to talk about Stargate. We're here to talk about The Shining.
No, I'm just trying to draw the parallel of, like...
No, I know what you're saying, but, do you have any questions you want to ask? Like,
yeah, what the hell, like, what is going on? Like,
what do you mean?
I know I'm a novice to Stephen King stuff, and I know I bring it up whenever we have a movie like this, because this is not the first Stephen King-based movie that we've watched.
Wasn't The Green Mile written by Stephen King?
Yes. That's the other one I was thinking of. Where you have a supernatural element that is never explained, but is taken for granted by everyone in the story.
Well, you have to think, Wendy did not really experience any paranormal activity.
Until the very end.
But Danny and Jack Danny experienced it right away.
Because he can shine.
But yes.
And I suppose that's the closest thing we got to an explanation, which is that the cook knows about these shines that the hotel has, and Danny is the first one to experience them, and sort of lets the cat out of the bag, and then
also,
the other people
the movie Doctor Sleep, the kind of prequel to The Shining, explains what Danny's gift is more in depth.
Prequel? I thought it was Danny after the fact.
Yeah, it's kind of like it coincides because they do talk about The Shining in the movie. Like, as adult Danny talks about, his family and stuff. So it's kind of like a prequel.
That sounds like a sequel to me.
Yeah.
Danny.
Sorry. Yeah, sequel. Sorry.
Oh,
Prequel.
okay. I didn't realize you didn't get the. Never mind.
What?
I thought you were genuinely calling it a prequel and not just mixing up words.
No, I was mixing up words.
Okay.
It's kind of a sequel, but it's not a sequel at the same time. If you get where I'm going.
I mean, it's not a direct sequel, but it is a carrying on of one of the characters anyway. So I mean, sometimes that's the closest thing to a sequel you're gonna get. But no, this is we're sitting here talking about this sort of things, and yeah, like I was saying, I have questions about the universe. And I know, well, some people can shine, and maybe these shines sort of grew because of the connection that, like, Danny let out spirits. We don't really get that much of an explanation. Did Jack actually, like, travel through time? Why was he in the 1921 picture? That's something that isn't explained and will never be explained.
It probably explains it better in the book.
Well, there was something in the article we were reading about how Stephen King wasn't super happy with the sort of directions the movie took away from the book. So this may be one of those cases where
the movie's not like nothing like the book.
No, just that there are things that the movie leaves out that don't or that would otherwise help complete the universe. At the same time, there are things that the movie provides that I'm certain the book doesn't. The movie is very atmospheric. It spends a lot of time working on that atmosphere. Things like heartbeats in the background, rising tones.
There was a lot of, you could hear there was no amount of silence throughout this entire movie. Like, there was always, like, some form of sound building suspense.
And I feel like if I didn't know more about this going in, like, I feel like if I knew less about this going in, I would have been a lot more tense through those scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I was bored. I was just like, so when is this movie going to start? We were an hour in, and I was wondering when it was going to start. And I'm not going to compare it to that other movie that took an hour to start. But I feel like, and I'm not going to do that because I feel like this movie has benefits for doing so.
Yeah, because it's introducing you to the characters. It's getting you used to the atmosphere of the movie. It's telling you, this is the movie. This is what you're going to get into. Get used to it. Buckle up. Sit down and ready for this fucking ride.
Yeah, and I feel like if I hadn't seen the movie beforehand, or haven't seen the movie, I didn't see the movie beforehand.
If you had seen this movie, the movie would not be on the list.
Right. If I knew less, I would spend a lot of those build-up scenes going like, crazy stuff could be around any corner, and then the movie does the sort of dramatic reveal where the enemy, the villain, has been with you the whole time and is basically the protagonist of the film. That's something that would probably take some people by surprise, but since I have seen the same scene that everyone else has seen, the one that's on the movie poster of him breaking down the door with an axe and saying, "Here's Johnny," that's, you know he's gonna be the person who's trying to kill them.
And
it's not going to be ghosts.
They also picked a really good person to play Jack Torrance.
Yeah, because he looks like a serial killer from the moment you meet him. No offense, Jack Nicholson, but like, you see him and it's like he's gonna go home and beat up his wife, like from the very first scene.
Well, they also bring that up, how Jack dislocated Danny's shoulder from a quote unquote accident.
Yep.
And freaking Jack even brings that up, and who was it, like Grady saying, "Oh, your wife and child need to be corrected," meaning kill them.
Yeah.
Also, there's this theory that I was listening to the other day about this movie.
Go on.
They're thinking that Jack is the devil.
Well,
they're thinking the theory is in the picture, and the picture at the end of the movie, he's sitting like the one of the demons, Baphomet, like with his hand the way it is, and they're saying that he is a demon who is taking the same form but throughout the years.
That's really interesting. That is actually kind of a neat take on it. I wonder if is that backed up by Stephen King?
I have no idea. It was a fan theory, but I was listening to it the other day and I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that. And you know what's really funny? Hell froze over. He froze to death. The devil froze to death. Irony. Haha. Hell froze over. So that doesn't mean you can get a raccoon as a pet. But, oh man, yeah. So I had seen that and I knew he was going to turn into the villain. I mean, yes, they present him as an unhinged individual, or an individual that can be unhinged. And then that's sort of expounded upon over the course of the film.
I also I didn't like how he talked to Wendy throughout this entire film. Like,
well, of course, yeah.
I was like, I don't like this. I don't think anybody in 2022 would like this.
I don't think anyone would like it at any point in time.
Well,
but,
yes, you're correct, but if this movie took place in 2022, you best believe Jack would have got the shit smacked out of him.
Well, I mean, he did get hit with a baseball bat.
I mean, you're right, he
did. And locked in a pantry.
Yeah, that... Okay, my question is, how did the ghost let him out?
Because the ghosts are real? Like, again, these are like, what are the limits of these phenomena? But as we seem to see through the course of the film, the power of the phenomena increases over time.
Also, Jack noticed, what was his name? The butler that was taking care of him, that was like telling him that he needs to correct his child. Grady, yeah. He noticed him right away.
Well, he recognized him after he heard his name again.
Yeah.
So, which is fair. I mean, he was told that story at the beginning.
But he was also trying to tell Grady that he was the caretaker, that he used to be the caretaker. But he was like, no, you've been the caretaker all along.
Yeah, no, that is another one of those things where maybe it ties into a greater picture. Maybe it's just something to do with this incarnation or spirit of Grady. There are a lot of questions here that no one in the film wants to ask, and I won't go as far as to call them plot holes because they're probably not. But it's just stuff that doesn't get explained.
I also brought it up last night. I was like, imagine his wife seeing him dance around holding an empty glass.
Or no glass.
Or no glass, because he was sitting at the bar with Lloyd, who was obviously a ghost.
Ghost bartender, yeah.
Ghost bartender at the hotel, like, giving him drinks.
Ghost drinks.
And I'm imagining he's probably got the placebo effect of like, oh, I'm drunk, but...
That's actually the thing. We didn't see him get intoxicated.
No.
So, which sort of at that point in time implies that the apparitions cannot influence reality. But Grady opening the door, it sort of indicates that they can. And one happens much later than the other, which sort of indicates, sort of is, follows along with the sort of rising power level thing that I'm thinking of.
Huh?
But,
What?
Like how the apparitions get stronger over time, and
okay, yeah.
So they start to affect more of the cast. They start to affect more of the characters. They start to affect more of their physical surroundings, like the elevator full of blood. I don't think we're ever shown if that is a actual elevator full of blood or just a hallucination.
I think it's a hallucination of. I think it's more of a metaphor of to say what is coming, like death is on the rise, like.
Oh.
Go away. Go away. That was uncalled for.
No, you're right, but she is the last one to see it. The female lead there is the last one to see the elevator full of blood. Also, I am surprised they killed the cook.
Are you?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Speaking of the cook, they used the N-word hard R in this movie, and I forgot about 3 times, and I forgot about that.
It was 1920. It's okay.
1920 my ass.
I mean, no, it's not okay, obviously, but it's just like Grady was the one who used it first, right? Yeah.
Yes, and
Grady
then Jack...
did it, and then Jack did it, and then Grady did it again, and it hits you like a ton of bricks because you don't expect it. But
I've seen this movie 4 times, and I forgot that was in there.
Yeah, that's it. Again, I think it's there to sort of emphasize the
difference in times.
No, I was just gonna say it's there to hit you like a ton of bricks. It's there to emphasize the scene as a whole. It's just to be like, oh, things are serious. Like they're dropping hard R's here. Because that's the only time that happens. The film doesn't make a point of it. The film doesn't make a habit of it. It does seem to make a point of it. And, I liked, speaking of habits, I liked how the movie made use of the maze multiple times.
Oh, yeah, the hedge maze.
I like how it was sort of called out, pointed out, spoken about, and then you see the model on the table multiple times. And then
you see Jack and Wendy walking through it.
Wendy and
Danny. Sorry.
But they make good use of that, and I feel like it's the only location in the film that is really heavily expanded upon. Yeah, I mean they spend a lot of time in their room. But not too much happens because of the layout thereof. And a lot of the other rooms in the hotel are only visited a couple of times, or when they're visited more than once, the fact that it is the same room is not important. The pantry is important. I guess the place
boiler.
where he's typing is important. We only see the boiler room once, which is the first one that came to mind, because I went like, ooh, wouldn't it be neat to have a sort of a chase through the inner workings of the hotel, and it's like, no, they're just running through corridors and kitchens. And then room 237, but the layout of room 237 doesn't matter. Why does that hotel room have stairs in the middle of it? That's weird to me. What architectural
The
layout?
hotel room had stairs?
Yeah, room 237 had like a set of 3 stairs down from one portion of it to the next, and I immediately looked at that and went, "Why would you design something like this? Like,
I don't know.
you want all your floors to be flat. Maybe if the edges of the hotel are sort of lower than the middle, but why would you do that?" I'm wondering if that was based on anything real, or if that was sort of an artistic license.
Oh
on
no,
the room.
we're gonna have to go to this hotel.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the interior of the Overlook and the interior of the building that uses the exterior, which is I think in Oregon, are even remotely the same. Because all of that stuff is sets. All the interior stuff is sets. Yeah, where's sets constructed on sound stages. So they were based on the Ahwahnee Hotel in Yosemite, but the exterior shots are the Timberline Lodge in Oregon, which is kind of interesting. I wonder what it was about the interior of the Timberline Lodge that was unsuitable to make the interior and exterior congruent.
I have no idea.
The Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood was filmed for a few establishing shots of the fictional Overlook Hotel. Absent in these shots is the hedge maze, something Timberline does not have. Interesting. So the hedge maze is something that was completely concocted for this. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it was in the book first, which wasn't probably based on any specific hotel. That's the problem with bringing a script into real life, is now you have to make the things real. So, yeah, it would be nice to visit the Shining Hotel and see what the interior might really be like. They did have... So I was talking about sort of the pace and the shots and the... You're wondering what's going to happen things. They spent a lot of time building you up in this movie. And I'm not sure if the payoff is worth all of that build-up, but it's worth some of it. Because you are genuinely... At least I was. Even
we were falling asleep during this movie.
Well, we were falling asleep during like the first half of it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is fair. But like I said, I was genuinely concerned for the lives of the characters at the end of the film. I didn't expect them to kill the cook. Actually, that's probably what it was, where... No, because the stakes go higher long before he's dead.
Yeah, because Jack tampers with the snowcat, so they can't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Tampers with the communication, so they have no way to talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the tensions really rise, because you watch him do this.
Watch him mess with the radio anyway.
Yeah, you watch him mess with the radio anyways, but like you still watch him do it. Like that's, I think that's where the escalations rise, and I think the tipping point is when he had the dream that he killed Wendy and
wasn't that before he messed with the radio and Snowcat? That was pretty early, relatively speaking. Yeah.
No, I feel like it was maybe a scene before.
Either way, it is... Yeah, I don't... That scene certainly is something. I forget what I was saying, though. But, yeah, no, I feel like that sort of raises the stakes, where it's like, oh, someone's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are gonna kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they shouldn't be in this kind of movie, but from that point... up to that point, you don't necessarily think anyone's going to die, excluding the fact that he did try to bust into the room with an axe already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of just an affirmation of we're serious. You think so? Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying about I can't remember what I was saying before we got on this tangent. Just that... What?
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Bail me out here.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Did you really think that they were going to die? Did you really think that Danny and Wendy were going to die?
I really wasn't sure. And especially after, well, when I was afraid they were going to be killed at the beginning. Like, I figured something was going to lead to their deaths. Now, obviously, I sort of knew that it would be Jack, if it was anything. Um, but then when the cook comes back to save the day, I went, oh, thank goodness, they're going to get out of this.
Mm-hmm. And then Jack comes from behind the
Yeah.
pillar, and he just hacks him in the frickin' chest.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I thought, up to the moment where Jack gets distracted and goes to kill the cook,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so Wendy's gonna die, but the kid's gonna survive. Because the kid made it out and he's gonna be rescued by the cook and the snowcat, and they're gonna live happily ever after, these two shining folks. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that didn't happen, and so I had to, like, reset my expectations. And then I was like, okay, so the cook's gonna save the day, or they're gonna have, like, a fight? No, cook's dead. Okay, well, okay, now they're both gonna die. Everyone's gonna die.
Everybody dies. Death for everyone.
Yeah. I don't know. The last 30 minutes are quite a ride.
Oh yeah, definitely are.
It's just, it takes an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah.
And
I think that the movie has great build up. I think that it has a great storyline. I love Stephen King. You know, I'm a horror fanatic. I love all that stuff. But all in all, this was a great movie, and if you want to jump into ratings, we can do that now.
I would absolutely be down for that. Just give me one more thing, which is that I did want to say, I feel like they underused a lot of the things they set up. They could have spent more time. Like, I know they foreshadow the whole thing in the first 30 seconds, but the twins, the ghost of the twins that you see, the elevator doors, the sort of recurring things don't get expanded upon as much as they could be. The twins don't do anything aside from stand there and walk around a little bit and ask Danny to play with them. Like, they aren't harbingers of anything. They don't turn out to be evil. They just sort of exist.
Yeah.
And when Wendy is running through the hotel, running into all these different specters and whatever, when she opens the door or turns the corner to the ballroom full of dead people, or like the room full of dead people, it doesn't strike me
Dead
the room full of skeletons that's called covered in cobwebs and yada yada.
Okay.
Like, that isn't the continuation of anything, and it's the first time we see that. Like, why that?
Yeah.
You know, why not a murder scene in the ballroom? Like the whole party of ballroom people is... Yeah, guess is... I mean, what if you turn the corner and they're all dead? And it's like, okay, there's the escalation and continuation of the ballroom scene. Why go with skeletons? I mean, yeah, I know it's almost Halloween, but come on.
Spooky.
But either way, so what are you going to give this as a star rating?
A 5.
You're going to give it a 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, I put in a 4. I have to think for a little bit, because I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 4.5 because I don't think it was the perfect movie. I don't think that it was sort of... I think it leaves too many stones unturned in its own sort of continuity. It turns too many things over and then doesn't look
like I said, I feel like Doctor Sleep as a sequel kind of picks up, but you don't really get the satisfaction of really knowing what happened in like all those plot holes in The Shining.
Yeah. And maybe if you read the book it's a little bit better, but that's sort of my take and why I'm giving it a 4.5. And I am rating it that highly because despite the fact that maybe it was the fact that I knew too much, maybe it's the fact that this just it wasn't grabbing me as much as it could. Maybe this, or maybe it's the fact this movie might not be for me, that it wasn't grabbing me as much as I could. I probably didn't enjoy this as much as your average person who enjoys a psychological thriller. And that's not to say that I wouldn't or don't. I haven't really dabbled that much. But I sort of expected to like it a lot more. I expected to be more thrilled than I was. You know what movie was more thrilling than this for me? Weirdly enough, Knives Out.
Oh yeah, you were freaking out.
Knives Out was a 2-hour-long anxiety attack for me, because the stakes are set at the very beginning, and those questions are thrown out to the wind, and you're trying to answer them on the clock through the whole thing. Unlike this movie, where you don't even ask the question of who is going to die until an hour in, really. Like, the movie asks it at the beginning, but you as the audience, I'm not really sure you're asking. Again, maybe it's because I knew too much. But I don't feel like the audience is under pressure in the same way that it is in Knives Out. Because the cast isn't necessarily under pressure. Because for the most part, nothing bad is happening to them. Jack is going off his nut a little bit at his wife, but he's not trying to kill her. And the ghosts aren't trying to kill anyone. The ghosts are, at best, weirding people out.
This is true. This is true.
The stakes are...
You were.
I don't want to say they're low.
You also died of laughter at the scene with Jack in the snow.
Oh God, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, the final scene of Jack frozen in the snow, because I didn't know this is where that meme came from.
Yeah, this is where that meme came from.
I lost it, and you were like, "Pay attention to the movie," and I'm just like trying to hold myself together. Well, yeah, no, I would probably watch this again. I would probably watch it again.
Let's just skip the introduction.
Yeah, I'd watch the second half again. We'll just start it after the bathroom and popcorn break. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you've seen or haven't seen The Shining, what you think. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more movie podcasts and other shenaniganry that's on this channel. And
Tomorrow's the last day for trading cards.
No, today's the last day for trading cards. Yeah, the Kickstarter ends in a couple of hours when this video goes up. So if you haven't bought cards now, you're gonna have to poke me over Discord and tell me. I still the Kickstarter it's at 700. It's complete, so we can.
Oh yay!
I get all my money back because I already printed the things. But I still have like 34 packs left. So, let me know.